This episode of Success Through Connections is brought to you by Legacy Realty Group, North Florida. The team that treats your home, your time, and your goals as top priority. Real people, real results, real care.
Hi, friends. We're back with Success Through Connections. I have a treat for you today. I have Pegine. I have to admit, she is one of my dearest mentors. I love her. She is such a giver. So she is just a trailblazing leader and an inspirational speaker. So let me let you in on some of the magnificent things about Pegine. She's a powerhouse. That's all I can say is she's an electrifying keynote speaker and entrepreneur. When she's in front of an audience, she speaks with such passion, with such energy. She's just a fearless leader. And she talks about resilience and determination and the power of being authentic, which I love. And we're going to get into a lot of that today. She was born and raised in the Bronx in New York City. She went from gang member, tough girl there, to the powerhouse that she is today. I know that she, at a very young age, moved to Spain, opened up a couple of businesses, sold them, and came back home to the United States and used all of her lessons learned to become the successful entrepreneur that she is today. She holds so many recognitions, the SBA's Women in Business Champion of the Year for Florida, Entrepreneur of the Year for North Florida. She was ranked number 3 in the fastest growing privately owned companies in North Florida by the Jacksonville Business Journal. She is one of only 8 women inducted into the 60-member Motivational Speakers Hall of Fame. What an accomplishment. You know who she's in the company with? Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield. I mean, come on. That is so freaking awesome. I love it. So she talks about being brave and bold and unstoppable. That's Pegine. That's who we're going to hear from today. And she's going to talk to us today about being unapologetically you, because it's really your biggest business advantage. So welcome, Pegine. So glad.
Thank you, Zelda. Wow. I hear the intro and I'm like, life is pretty amazing as you move through all the stages of your life to a place where you go, I did that. But when you hear somebody else read it, it's like, oh, girl, you did do that.
You did all that. And I remember when you first started speaking, well, maybe not your first started, but way back 20 some odd years ago when I first met you and you were speaking about diversity in the workplace. I know you've spoken to some like the defense. What was it? The
Department of Defense. I've spoken with 3 presidential administrations, testified in front of Congress, and spoken to 15% of the Fortune 500 who have had me back over and over. All branches of the military, except for the Marines. Well, I did do it once with Marines.
And I know Barry Kay was on your bucket list. Wasn't it?
Avon.
Sorry.
Avon. No,
Avon.
It's all good. I sold Avon when I was a teenager, helped me pay for college. And, I had put it in my dream book that one day I'll speak on the Avon stage. And a couple of years ago, they called me up and they said, we've heard about you. We want you to be on the grand stage for I think it was their 80th anniversary. And I was like, wow.
I remember.
I'm all in.
Well, one of the things that I always love about you, Pegine, is you are so authentic. You are just bold and out there. And, if it's your cup of tea, great. If it's not, as my sister and I always say, next.
Yeah.
You are. It's like you talk about being bold and I wanted to ask if you would share a story or a moment in your career when that boldness wasn't just a mindset, but it was a necessity. How did it shape your leadership by being bold?
It's a great question because I will say that I've embraced certain missions. So I've become mission focused. So the first time being bold was when I was 17 and a half and living in Spain. When you're 17 and a half, and I did not go with a group. I did it to escape the gang, right? So I didn't go with a group. I wasn't going to study, although I, had signed up for a course because you needed to do something with your visa. I didn't last long in that at all. And you quickly run out of money. As a teenager, you run out of money really fast. And so I needed to generate income. I needed to do something. Remember, I was in Spain. I did not speak Spanish. I mean, very little, like so little. I could say yes or no, but I might not understand what you were telling me or offering me. And I had been in the States. I had been a paraprofessional, like a teacher assistant in a nursery school. My mom had been running Head Start programs for the New York City Board of Ed. So I said, oh, I know how to do this. I can do this. I could work in a nursery school. Well, after going through 36 nursery schools, bumbling my way, trying to convince them to hire me as a school assistant, a teacher assistant, not even a teacher. I wanted a teacher assistant job. And no. And now I was really hurting. I needed money. And so the mission became, I'm going to figure this out. I am going to figure this out. And the idea came to me, why don't I open a bilingual nursery school? Because I noticed that there were Americans in Madrid who worked for American companies in Madrid, but they brought their families. And my mom had a bilingual nursery school teacher in the States. I said, well, why wouldn't they want a bilingual nursery school here? So that Americans can send their kids to a nursery school where they learn English, American English, and Spanish. That was this idea in my 17-and-a-half-year-old mind. So I went to this woman and I walked in and the same thing happened. She says, oh, you're here for a job? I said, no, I'm here for an investor. Do you know anybody that wants to invest? And I'm saying it in English, invest in a nursery school. And I think back now, like, what audacity did I have? I mean,
bold.
It was beyond bold. It was, who do you think you are? Well, here's what the universe did, right?
That's that imposter syndrome, right?
Oh my God. Well, this was just going to happen. I was so mission focused. This was going to happen. And she said, this gentleman, Pedro Bautista, just left. He's looking to open a nursery school, but doesn't know how to. And I said, I've opened nursery schools in New York. I ran some of the biggest. What a bullshit artist. But I had been there. I saw it. Figured through osmosis. I must have learned it from my mom. And he invested in my first nursery school. After 3 years, we had three of them.
Pegine, what's interesting is what they all teach you in Business 101 is find a problem and bring up the solution. You found a problem, you found a little niche there, and you said, here's what I can do. So you found.
Absolutely. And you're 100% about that.
So when you're building a brand around being bold and being authentic, what does being your authentic self really mean to you in business and in leadership?
So my motto is be bold, be brave, be seen, be heard, and be paid well. I teach this, I speak about it. And so for me, there's a couple of things about being authentically me. I am an enthusiastic, super happy Pollyanna personality. And for many years, oh my gosh, Zelda, for many years, people would tell me, tone it down. You're too much. I even had a neighbor tell my husband, can you put her into a cage? Like,
Gosh.
So my positivity and enthusiasm makes people uncomfortable. So I used to, or early on, I would try to tap it down, but that's not me. It's like this is full on, and I'm successful because of it. I know that's one of my biggest things. It's my brand. It's also, I know I'm strategic. I know I'm thoughtful. I know all of these things, but it was my enthusiasm that can open doors. Yeah. And so once I appreciated that, and that's what I think that people need to learn, appreciate the unique parts of you, like really appreciate it. Really appreciate. So my authenticity came from a couple of things. One, being enthusiastic. Two, being honest about my story, because it's my story. It's not your story. It's nobody else's story. It's mine. And what do I care what you think of it? This is how I transformed my life because of it, right? And as I started being able to be brave and share how I see the world, be brave and share how I would want to be treated, be brave and be willing to say what needs to be saying. And when I went for my master's in social work, I created a very special, what they call a family support center, that we had training and we had counseling and coaching. And everything told us, sit behind a desk. And so that you would come in as a client, I'd say, hello, Zelda, tell me about your problem. And we had this office desk. That's not going to make you want to talk to me, especially when I work with the Hispanic community. So I took all the desks out of all the offices. I went to Salvation Army, Goodwill. I bought kitchen tables and I bought plastic table covers and I put make-believe flowers on top. Because where do the most important conversations happen? Is it in the living room?
Over the kitchen
Is
table.
it in the office? No, it's around the kitchen table.
That is
So
brilliant.
I created something called kitchen table counseling. I think that's what makes I'm just not going to play through your society norms of how things should be. I'm looking for solutions to make things work and to make sure that people thrive.
And
That's
you
my
do
mission.
that so brilliantly, because I know that when you and I speak on our bi-monthly meetings, it's always about elevating my brand and how can I improve it. You're such a giver when it comes to that. You're just such a giver. It's incredible. I just think the world of that. So let me ask you, so how can someone balance being that empathetic communicator and being a commanding leader at the same time?
Oh, great question. So sometimes we take empathy as allowing the other person to take away your power, your positivity, your essence, and let them suck you into their drama.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Okay. So empathy isn't about, I'm going to get you sucked into drama. Empathy is about, I hear where you are right now. I hear where you are right now. And I get it. I so get it. When they're done that, do you want to stay there or do you want to transform?
Yeah.
Do you want to stay stuck in here and tell the story over and over, or do you want a different path? Because I empathize with your story. I hear your story. I understand the pain, but I think you're amazing. I think you're amazing, but I can't stay in your pain.
Yeah.
I can share with you my experiences to get out of the pain. I can empathize with you.
But I'm not going to get sucked into your drama.
I just don't do drama.
Yeah.
I just don't do drama.
Well, you speak about leverage. You spoke a minute ago about being strategic. And I know that I've shared with you that when I make certain decisions, they're strategic. They don't seem it maybe, but they're very strategic. So when you talk about leveraging networking, what does a strategic leveraging look like, especially for women who might be hesitant to ask for help? Sometimes they don't want to ask for help or they hesitate. What advice would you give to them to leverage?
Stop calling people and saying, I want to take you out for coffee. Because what you really want to say is, I need some guidance and help on this specific topic. But you're couching it by saying, can I take you out for coffee? Which means you have no concept of what my life is like. Because when you say, I want to go out to coffee with you, you're not being honest. You're actually looking for advice, thoughts, insight, wisdom, which, by the way, we can do on a Zoom call as easily as going into a coffee.
Easier.
So when you say that, what you're actually not being aware of the demand of time that you're asking me. Because in order for me to go out to coffee means I have to take a shower, put on my makeup, get dressed, think about what I'm going to just make sure I have my lipstick on, because I'm not going out the way I would if I'm just in a t-shirt working out at the office. So now you're asking me to do that. You're asking me to sit through your desire to tell me your drama story. And after about 40 minutes, if I let you go that long, after 40 minutes, then you might ask me, or not, what advice do you have for me? No, don't do that. Say, I have a wonderful woman who I think she's the best asker that I've ever met in my whole entire. She actually wrote about asking. Best asker ever. She will go to me on Facebook. Hey, I'm having this issue, this problem. Here's exactly what's going on. This is the advice. This is the help I need from you. Can you give me advice? You can go in that Facebook Messenger and go, here's what I thought about it. So it takes me less than 5 minutes to share her. And she will do it. I mean, if I would say in the time that I've known her, I've probably known her about 6 years, probably 100 to 200 times a year will she do that.
So what's your opinion on this one? This is when you're on LinkedIn, right? And somebody wants to be your friend or however they want to connect, whatever they call it on LinkedIn. And you go, okay, sure. Because they look like they align with where you're with you, right? So you click yes, we'll be friends. And the very next message is them trying to sell you whatever it is. They don't really know you, but
right. I just go literally the moment they did that, I go, thanks, no thanks. And I remove them as contact and I just don't bother with them.
Yeah. Do you find that happens to you? Because it certainly happens to me.
God, it happens all the time. I mean,
like, how about asking me something about me first? Get to know who I am and what I'm about.
Well, the truth of the matter is I look at their profile.
Yes.
If the profile is selling, I'm a expert in social media marketing and stuff like that. You're not interested in what I do.
They just want to.
You're not telling me about I love it when somebody says, I'd love to connect with you. Have you read the new book?
Yes.
Let Me. Have you read the new book, Let Me by Mel Rogers? I love it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're tapping into what my profile says and what I've posted and shared, and you're trying to connect with me in a meaningful way. The same thing that I try to do when I'm doing LinkedIn. So if I'm finding something, like I just connected with somebody, I asked for connection because I realized, oh my gosh, I could be working with this company and organization. I can be there, but I need to connect with him. So, I shared, I just went to lunch with my husband. I went to lunch at your place. And I realized I've been to your place quite often, watching my friends speak there. I should be speaking there. I would love to connect with you. So I'm taking, this is your job. I know people that would book it, and let's connect. As I could be a referral source, and you can be a referral source.
It's building that relationship.
It's so critically important because, can I share something that I learned yesterday, which I thought was one of the most phenomenal, like this woman just opened up my eyes. Can I share this for a minute?
You want me to share?
She said, no, I don't want to share. I'm just going to share the story.
Yeah.
So I have a brand new brochure that I'm sending out. Right. So we have the packet, and I know that the best thing to do is to write a handwritten card. So it was in my sales blitz class group. We all are pitching things and stuff. And I said, I'm really struggling. I'm struggling because my writing is not like the best writing in the whole wide world. It's kind of scratchy.
I get it. Yeah.
And I said, so I'm practicing here, but they would like that. And this woman said to me something so profound. She said, whoa, stop that. He said, if you received a recipe from a great aunt or somebody in their scratchy writing, do you think, how horrible that writing is?
Exactly.
He said, or if somebody writes you a handwritten note, do you criticize? No, you read the note, you're like so touched that they would do a handwritten note. He said the handwritten note means the world to somebody receiving it because you didn't automate something. You are sharing your truth and being so authentic. When she said that, it changed everything for me about handwritten notes. I'm giving you part of my heart. And I'm giving my spelling errors. And I'm giving you the time for you to squint your eyes saying, what is that word? What is that word?
Exactly.
but it makes
I
a
believe in the power of a
difference.
handwritten note. You know that. I
Oh,
write
you do.
notes all the
But
time.
my belief
Glad you're
system
embracing that.
was,
Yeah.
it's so scratchy, doesn't look professional, all that. And she just opened my eyes in a way that was like, I never thought
Don't care.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
It was. That is a very cool story. It's like I preach that all the time. It's in my course on networking about writing follow-up handwritten notes. None of these email things. People just hit delete from email. So yeah, I'm a firm believer. I think she gave you great advice there. So I'm
Yeah.
going to move on to another one. So in your journey as a speaker and an advisor to top leaders, what are some of the traits that leaders who actually create long-term influence, not just intention? What are some of their traits? Not just
So
intention. Yeah.
yeah, so some of the traits is confidence in their being, confidence in who they are. It was interesting. I worked with a very senior leader, the CEO. He was of a large energy company. And I was coming in to talk to the group, and part of it was sharing your story. And he looked like CEO that walked out of a magazine, tall, gray
Good
hair,
looking guy.
thin. I mean, he was gorgeous, had that demeanor, but he also had a demeanor of such power that he was hard to connect with. Like I could see where employees would have a hard time connecting with him. And as we were talking, I asked him a bunch of questions about his background and growing up. Where did he grow up? He said, actually, I was a foster kid and I lived in 14 different foster homes. I said, really? He goes, yeah, made me realize that there's a lot of different kinds of people in the world and how I can navigate myself to meld into different groups to fit in, and also that the loneliness. It's weird. I said, does anybody know about this? He goes, I would never tell that. And I said, well, you have a choice. And I put my social work hat on, which a long story about that. I said, you have a choice. You can share your story. I can interview you on stage, and then together we could share your story, or I can share your story. Those are your three choices, because your
story's getting out there.
Your story is so powerful.
Yes.
For your employees to know, because you don't know where they're at, but your story makes you authentic to them. He said, I'll tell it. And he did. He shared his story, and this is what you had people in the audience doing.
I was say they were all crying in the audience.
They were there. And out of that, what happened was they started the first ERG of foster families. Him and these three women who were foster grandparents, right? They had their grandchildren. The four of them started this group together. The four of them organized. And what a gift, right? That's a gift where, from a leader's perspective of influence, was being authentic about his story in a way that people can see him as a person, not just a magazine icon.
That's
right?
An incredible story.
It's such people who lead don't think that their story matters, when in fact their story matters because it educates people about why they're on mission. It educates people about why they do what they do. It educates people that they're not looking for perfection, they're looking for humanness, the best human you could be.
Yeah.
And so that's a trait that one of influential. And the second thing is that they look at people's eyes.
Yeah. Look in their eyes. Yes. So, it brings me to, it really kind of, I was going to ask this question, but you kind of sort of answered it. It was like, there are people out here who are listening to us and they might feel like they're too much or they're not enough. And to be authentically themselves, like this CEO. So while you took the ball and said, here are your three choices. Well, you're not there for everybody, but what could be some of those first steps for someone to rewrite that narrative?
When it comes to buying, selling, or managing rental property, don't settle. Choose the professional team that's experienced, knowledgeable, and yes, they actually answer the phone. Legacy Realty Group North Florida is the full-service real estate firm that delivers peace of mind. With over 16 years of local expertise, their responsive and dedicated team makes the process smooth, personal, and stress-free. Whether you're selling your home or looking for a reliable property manager, Legacy Realty Group North Florida has you covered. You'll find their info right in the show notes.
So first is your perception of yourself. So every person has to recognize something. It's a miracle that you're here. It's a miracle that you are born. Let me tell you, there are millions of these little spermoids out there that didn't hit the mark. Some you did hit the mark. Then you went through childhood, whatever your childhood was. Your childhood, you thrived, you succeeded, you're showing up, you're listening to the show. The fact that you're even listening to the show says you're special and you're unique and you're divinely blessed to share who you are. So first you have to acknowledge and know that for me, I write gratitudes every day. I do 10 minutes of meditation every day. I breathe in oxygen and I appreciate that there's such an abundance of oxygen. I can't even breathe in all the oxygen out that's in this world. I just know that there's so much for me. I can't believe it. So when you're breathing and doing your meditation and breathing, there's so much for you, so many opportunities, so many gifts, so much love, so much peace. And when you recognize that, people just want to know you. And then the third thing is to be brave, courageously brave, to say, this is my story. I was given my story and I changed my life. I'm different than who I was when I was little. My beliefs have changed. My thoughts have changed. And I'm here to not only support myself, to support others. And my story is all I really got. My story of how I dealt with this issue, my story of how I dealt with that, my story of where I'm going, my story of my mission, my story of my dedication to my own personal successes. My story matters. And when you recognize that, then you become more authentic.
Yeah.
When you believe and know I matter, then you show up as you because you matter.
So, Pegine, have you ever shown up in your career like as a speaker mostly as a speaker, I'm thinking, where when you entered that room where your voice, maybe it wasn't welcomed? You were there to do a job, but you weren't welcomed, or you even surprised them because the rest of the crew didn't know that you were coming or something along those lines. It's like, and you're your authentic, bold self. How do you deal with that?
So I think one of the best stories about that was I was doing work for the military, lots of work with the military. And I had this dream of presenting one of my programs to, let me give you the title, of 100 or a couple, maybe 1,000 people. I had this dream that I wanted to do it. So I called my local congressman. They enabled me to have a meeting with the deputy director of the Department of Defense. Great. I go by myself, go to the Pentagon, by myself. And if you've ever been to the Pentagon, it's huge. And my heels going tap, 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 tap. I get to the deputy director's office. They were very kind, took my coat. They said, okay, the deputy director is going to come in to see you. I sit in the room. They bring me in. He's there. Hello, how are you? He said, some of my people have come in. Over 25 people came into the office. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, what are these people doing here? Like, I talked to this guy about my little program. I don't want to. He starts asking me questions. And he says, do the pit. Tell us about the program. Tell me about the program. Tell me what to do. But again, I'm thinking like 1,000 people. That's what I'm thinking. Well, he starts asking questions that I couldn't really answer. And clearly, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was so bad.
You couldn't fake it?
So that there was no faking it because they were like everything they were saying was going like this.
Way over your head.
Over my head, right? It was like, oh my gosh. And little by little, the 25 people start leaving one by one, right? They're like, oh, it's not really this. And the deputy director was so sweet and kind. He goes, Thank you so much. I don't think that we're ready to work with you. We're looking for programs that can handle a million to 2 million people. I went, well, thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. When I'm ready, can I come back? And he said, oh, yeah, you just come back. You were delayed. And I stand up tall and I walk out and my tail was in between my legs.
I'd have gone to my car and cried.
It was not even a crying movement. It was like,
what just happened?
It went so over your head. Well, I did have the opportunity about a year later to go back to the Pentagon to pitch a different director. But this time I was really prepared. Now I knew these people have their people, right? So he's going to do the talking, but they're going to be their people who are taking notes. So this time I was prepared so I hired professional actors to be my people. And I went into the office. I told the actors, I told them what colors to wear, my company colors. I gave them all Team Pegine folders. I said, all I need you to do is I don't care if you're drawing pictures, stick figures, you're writing a letter to your mom. I don't care. I just need you to be writing notes, right? You're just going to sit behind. You're not going to say a word. You are to keep stoic the whole time. So they were there and their people were there and I'm talking and we got a great deal. And I learned my lesson, like, okay, go in knowing prepared. Go in knowing not only what you want, but what are their expectations? What's the scale they're looking at? What are they imagining in other words, you talked about solutions. What's the solution that they're looking for how many people? And what does that look like on the grand scheme so that you can then develop the solution that can serve them, but you also have to give them the satisfaction that they can believe that you can execute it. So the first time they knew, girl,
you're out of your league.
So out of my league, if they gave me the contract, I'd be like, no, because I didn't know how to think that way, right?
But you weren't that way the next time. You were ready.
No, because I had already, after that, I spent months thinking scale. What would I need to do? What does that look like? How do I need to present? Who would I need to hire? What can I do? We sold $1 million contracts because we were able to figure out the scale. But that first time, girl, it was sad.
I can relate. I know that many years ago when I was in the event business, and I wanted to land a job. It was with Anheuser-Busch. They were throwing a mega 6-figure party, and I wanted to be the event planner, the one that produced that party for them. And I knew I was up against some national firms, and there I was, just little old Zelda, with my little team of one. And I remember asking, I don't know, there's a fella, his name was Howard Kelly. He owned a company called Sally Industries. They did robotics for the theme parks. And I knew him. And I told him what was going on, and he goes, here's my advice. Go do your homework. Know what you're getting into. Learn about that organization and their events and learn. And guess what? I got that job.
People think that the jobs just come to them.
No.
But they don't realize that there are 3 things as an entrepreneur that I have to be looking at. So when I'm working with a client I got to know who the client is. I got to do the research. I have to know what they've done in the past. I have to know what their expectations are. I have to see who's worked for them in the past. What does that look like? The second thing that I have to be able to make sure is that I have within myself an understanding what my budget is, what my profits are. Who do I need to bring in? Who's going to be need to have a staff. I need to have subcontractors.
Yes.
So who am I going to bring in, and what does that cost about? And then the third part about that is, do I like them? Do I want to work with them?
Yes.
Is this making me happy, or am I doing it out of desperation for money, for fame, for glory? Or is it doing it because it feels that this is the right step for me, my right next step? Those are the 3 things that are really important. Really important.
I had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, a fellow, his professor in Washington, Scott Talon, and he talked about really, it's about doing your homework. Like what we were saying is, if you want to grab the attention of the media or these influencers, find out, select who you want to present your products to and do your research, do your homework and make sure that it fits in. It's like, you can't just be willy-nilly with your whatever it is you're selling. When I'm wanting to work with someone to sell a house, or you want to sell your program, you have to really do your homework. I know we're getting near the end of the hour. I wanted to ask you one question it's my signature question. I ask everybody, and it's, can you share with us a story or an incident where you had a successful connection that led to an opportunity for you? We're called Success Through Connections, and I believe that it's through our connections that brings us success. So can you share a story of success like that for us?
This is such a great question. My husband and I were driving back from an event that I had just presented at. And when we were driving back, I don't know how we got into conversation, but we were thinking about who are the people that I've connected with who opened doors for me big. They were my fans. They were the ones who said, you've got to use her. So I'm going to there are 4 people, but I'm going to kind of talk to them as though they were one person. So the first one was, they were all guys. All guys these men have been my biggest promoters. They understood leverage at a level that most people don't. They understood that leverage was part of their power. And they knew that they were really assured that one of the things that they do with their power is to share with their network people that they believe in, because their network trusts them. So when they met me and heard me, they knew from personal experience being with me that they should share them with everybody. And they did. Oh my God. They sent out emails to their network. I did not know this. I had no idea that they had done this. They took some of their own funds and would hire me to speak to their people. Even though they weren't producers, they just felt compelled to do this. It was how they lead. They were opening doors for people they believed in. The third thing, that they weren't loud. They had reputations of being kind and honest and insightful and powerful and genuine. Like, genuine is even more than authentic. Genuine is, I say what I say, I do what I do, I am who I am. And they were like that, right? And I'll tell you, so one guy, he was in the military. Oh my gosh, he passed my name to every decision maker in every branch. And that's how we got this abundance of business. Our phone was calling left and right. Another guy who was also in the military told me, I'm going to be in Orlando. This was so wild. Be in Orlando for a major conference of all the top brass from around the country from this division, this branch of the military. He said, it's not open to the public. We're in a public restaurant. You come down with a duffel bag filled with your books and your brochures and just sit in the hallway. I'll let you know when I'm walking down the hallway, and you say, hi, Major so-and-so, and give me one of your packets. And I'll bring people over to you because you just happen to be there. That led us to speaking to every 49 states of the United States hired us from that one thing that he did for me.
Wow, that is awesome.
Amazing. And then the third guy was a guy that he just loved my work. He convinced his company to host for 600 of his clients. 600 of his clients, they created a whole meeting around me, inviting 600 of their clients to come and hear me speak. They gave out my books. They gave out my brochure, my magazine brochure. Open doors for me left and right. That's how I got into some of these Fortune 500 companies, because they opened the store.
They opened it up for you. Wow, that is an incredible story. It is success through connections. That is how people are successful. You are not an island. You cannot do things alone. There are, I believe, behind every successful self-made person, there's a whole crew of people back there that were helping them. Nobody does it alone.
Nobody does it alone.
Nobody does it alone. Pegine, thank you so much for being with us today. Can you share with us, if someone wants to hire you to be a speaker or needs a mentor or whatever it is they need, they want to get in touch with you, how can they reach you?
The easiest way is go to Pegine, go to Pegine.com. You have my phone number there. You have a link to book me there. You can get my free book, 50 Success Secrets of Women. Just fill in the form. And that's the easiest way. You can look everywhere. You could just go Google online, Pegine, you do Pegine or Pegine Power, and you'll get my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my TikTok, my YouTube,
Everything.
my Pinterest, my everything is there. DM me. I'm always around. We are here to make a difference in the world and to help you all be bold, be brave, be seen, be heard, be paid well, and communicate your value. Like Zelda says, it's always about success through connections. So let's connect. Let's have success.
Thank you so much, Pegine. And thank you to our audience. We're so glad you're here to listen today.
When it comes to buying, selling, or managing your rental property, don't settle. Choose the professionals at Legacy Realty Group North Florida, the real estate company that gives you peace of mind.